My journey through the shadows and back could fill volumes. Before I walk you down that path, I owe you a semblance of an introduction. My name is Jack, a soldier's name, handed down through generations in my family. My time, 13 relentless years. Every single year spent in the labyrinth of secret missions, Green Berets, and the Special Operations community of the U.S. Army. Each day, a new lesson in the brutal truth of warfare. After spending half my life chasing enemies through rain, snow, and desert, I've earned my right to give it to you straight. Just don't expect all the intricate details. Some tales are better left untold, for the sake of those still waging wars in those shadows. But if you're up for a good old yarn, I've got stories that'd both warm and freeze your blood. It was our second week in the unforgiving terrain of Afghanistan, a valley notorious for its hidden dangers. Every gust of wind carried whispers of threats, both seen and unseen. The radio buzzed, the voice on the other end hinting at an opportunity we couldn't miss. Our target? A group of top-tier enemies ensconced deep within a vast cave system. The intel, gathered from the watchful eyes in the sky, painted a grim picture. From standard AKs to RPGs, they had an arsenal fit for a small army. Even the monstrous DSK was seen being offloaded, a machine of old-world might. But the real twist in the tale? The local religious leaders, the imams from nearby villages, dragged against their will into these caves. It was clear, a sinister ritual or a catastrophic event was in the making. Our mission? To pull the plug before it began. Another day, another impending disaster averted. The preparation was intense. The room felt like the backstage of a grand theater, with the final act imminent. Only instead of actors, we were warriors. The props, not mere costumes but state-of-the-art gear. Night vision goggles augmented with thermal detection, combat uniforms stitched to perfection, body armor that felt like a second skin, and weaponry that was nothing short of art. Each piece, a testament to American ingenuity. And the team? Think of the finest ensemble cast. Veterans, specialists, and raw talents hand-picked for their unmatched skills. Rob, our spiritual anchor, always had a ritual. A prayer, shared silently, and an embrace. That night, as he whispered his words, they felt heavier, more profound. 3 teams, Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie. I was with Bravo, our objectives clearly etched out. Dive deep into the cave, confront the enemy head-on, and create a pathway for Charlie to swoop in for intel. Hovering above, Alpha would be our eyes, ensuring not a single soul escaped our net. The night was dark as ink when we boarded our little bird helicopters, the blades cutting through the night, matching the rhythmic pounding in our chests. Let me bring into focus the valiant individuals that shared the night with me, the very soldiers who braved that infernal cave. First and foremost, Rob, a beacon of guidance in my life. My mentor, confidant, and team leader Rob was the archetype of silent strength. Hailing from Lexington at a fleeting glance, Rob was the quintessential American dad. Medium build, graying goatee, perpetually seen wearing his signature Tennessee state flag cap. He could have easily been mistaken for a college professor, especially given his penchant for history. A West Point prodigy, his expansive knowledge wasn't just limited to U.S. military tales, but spanned civilizations across our planet. Beneath that scholarly facade, however, was a warrior. The very aura of Rob compelled you to trust, to follow, and woe betide anyone who mistook his kindness for weakness. Then there's Doc. As his moniker suggests, he was our team medic. The newest recruit, he had much to prove. Despite having served with distinction with the Rangers and amassing enough medical training to rival a seasoned surgeon, we demanded first-hand proof of his prowess. And he didn't disappoint. His first mission with us saw him literally massage a fallen comrade's heart back to life. As incredulous as it sounds, it's a testament to his skill. Brian, our communications linchpin, was the yin to my yang. The guy redefined the term beach bum and was the team's comic relief. From the very start, we were inseparable, sharing a residence off base. He was my sparring partner during training, my confidant in the barracks, and my voice of reason during ops. His dedication was unwavering, always pushing me to perfect my shots, urging me to rise above and beyond. Last but certainly not the least, Jason the Behemoth, our master breacher. If a door existed, he'd find it. If it didn't, he'd create one. Picture an imposing force, then add a touch of finesse. That was Jason. As invaluable as he was to the team, this mission was his swan song. Eager to reunite with his children in New York, he was ready to hang his boots. The looming retirement weighed heavy on his heart. After each op, it wasn't fatigue that marred his features, but a melancholic realization that his journey was nearing its end. As we approached the mouth of that cave, our footsteps barely made a sound. Night vision goggles rested on our foreheads. IR strobes blinked intermittently, guiding us through the obsidian dark. Rob's voice crackled intermittently, updating the forward operating base while Brian coordinated with other teams. But as we neared, an unexpected obstacle presented itself, a monolithic stone wall blocking our path, devoid of any entry or exit points. Our meticulous plan to silently infiltrate crumbled. An explosive entry was now inevitable. As the tension became palpable, Rob gestured for Jason to prepare an explosive charge. But just as Jason was setting up, he froze. Pointing to the ground, our thermals unveiled an unsettling sight. Arabic inscriptions etched into the sand, almost as if expecting our arrival. The warming remnants of the etched Arabic words were unmistakable. Using my red light to illuminate it better, the inscriptions clearly read Shaitan. What drew more alarm was the fact that these haunting words were written in what Doc recognized as semi-fresh blood. Many might consider this eerie setting a forewarning, a sign to retreat. But to us, it was a clear provocation. It was as though the adversaries within the cave wanted to flaunt their bloodlust, hoping to intimidate us with their cache of old Soviet artillery. In our minds, it was an invitation, a challenge, one we were eager to accept. The explosion from the charge Jason had set made our environment a dust-laden haze. Even so, we moved with precision and purpose. We're adept at navigating these close-quarter engagements. Scanning our surroundings with infrared lasers and lights became second nature. Once the dust finally settled and the immediate surroundings were ascertained to be clear, an overpowering stench gripped us. Death I've encountered often, but the rancid odor in this cave was singular, dark, and deeply unsettling, suggesting something far removed from the ordinary. The cave's interior bore a bizarre layout. Fighting dugouts, typically oriented to provide cover from outside threats, were all strangely directed towards the cave's inner tunnel. Weapons, ammunition, religious paraphernalia, and aged rations littered the ground. Never before had we encountered adversaries setting up defenses with their backs exposed to the entry point. This peculiarity only heightened our anticipation and caution. As we advanced further, the pathway narrowed, compelling us to change from our diamond formation to a single file, with me taking the lead. The grisly remnants of a skirmish lay before us, bullet casings scattered around torn bodies, injuries reminiscent of close-range explosive impacts. Tensions were palpable. Our steps grew hesitant, our communication more frequent. Rob relayed our findings and the eerie ambience to our superiors, ensuring they received live footage from our helmet cams. Their directive was concise: Bravo 6, continue forward. Soon after, a door materialized on our left. Upon entry, the horrifying scene was imprinted into our memories. A young man, appearing to be in his mid-20s, was chained, gagged, and injured, his left leg brutally severed below the knee. Jason and Doc instantly attended to him, Jason ensuring his screams did not give away our position, and Doc administering medical aid. Rob gently questioned him in Pashto, seeking to gain insight into the nightmare we'd walked into. In a weakened voice, the captive murmured about an entity or person named Shaitan. Speculation abounded among us that Shaitan might be a nickname assigned to one of our adversaries, a notorious fighter perhaps. But command provided no clarity on this entity. Our journey further into the cave was marked by a palpable sense of dread. Even Brian, the perennially unflappable, shared a look of unease with me. Each step seemed to amplify the odious aroma of decay, and evidence of violence was omnipresent. But then, something utterly unexpected occurred. As we ventured into a vast cavern, a sudden flood of red light pervaded, as if a switch had been flipped, revealing intricate carvings within this remote, clandestine Afghan cave. Without a second thought, every fiber of our training and instinct kicked into high gear. In a reflexive motion, my hand swiftly brought my rifle to my face, while my other hand instinctively toggled my night vision. The scene that unfolded before us was surreal, eerie, and deeply unsettling. The cavern's center bore an unholy spectacle. Atop a macabre mound of corpses, twisted and contorted to form a grotesque throne, sat an entity. The haunting image of this creature, defying natural logic, is one I doubt I will ever forget. Its legs resembled that of a beastly mule, and protruding from its head were horns that were visible even from our vantage point. The creature's skin seemed taut, stretched almost to breaking, seeping dark, smoky tendrils. Suddenly, it rotated its bloodied head a full 180 degrees, fixing its malevolent gaze upon us. Without hesitation, our team unleashed a barrage of firepower. To our dismay, the creature seemed impervious. Moments later, an oppressive darkness enveloped the cavern. The artificial luminescence from our equipment failed. Left only with the dim, eerie glow from the creature's throne, we instinctively retreated. Sprinting towards the cave's entrance, our retreat was marked by the cacophony of bizarre, guttural noises echoing through the cave's confines. Reaching the defensive dugouts at the entrance, we took cover, our weapons trained on the cave's abyss, anticipating the creature's pursuit. A sudden movement caught my eye. An object, a severed leg, flew through the air, striking Jason violently, compromising his gear and wounding him. Brian, in a desperate move, launched a Carl Gustav recoilless rifle round into the depths of the tunnel. Despite the concussive force and our relentless gunfire, the creature, now resembling a twisted version of a typical Taliban fighter with beastly limbs, continued its unhindered approach. Its regeneration was disturbing. Our bullets would tear into its flesh, only for the wounds to mend almost instantly, as if magnetically drawn back together. Our ammunition was rapidly depleting, and the situation looked bleak. Then, in a chillingly clear voice, it uttered in English, "You will not leave this land alive." With defiance and a hint of desperation, I retorted, "Maybe not," and pulled out my sidearm, landing a shot directly onto the creature's forehead. Surprisingly, it collapsed, offering us a temporary respite. With helicopters' distant sounds signaling potential reinforcements, we cautiously approached the downed entity. The paradox perplexed us. How could a simple 9mm hollow point round accomplish what our artillery couldn't? As Rob sought to examine the creature further, a sudden transmission echoed, "Bravo 6, hold your fire. Do not engage." Almost as if on cue, the creature stirred once more, lunging violently at Rob. Before we could react, it had fatally injured him. A sense of profound loss and fury overwhelmed us. Doc, with sorrow in his eyes, tended to Rob while Brian and I grappled with the reality of our situation. Having ensured the cave was clear of threats, we prepared for our exit, paying tribute to Rob by transferring a symbol of his identity onto my gear. As we ventured out, a surprising sight awaited us. Charlie team, but not as we remembered them. Donning uniforms unfamiliar to us, with a distinct patch bearing a circle and 3 arrows, their identity was a mystery. Although I have collaborated with every special operations unit within the U.S. military, these men were unknown to me, deepening the enigma of our harrowing ordeal. After the nightmarish encounter, we were swiftly ushered onto the awaiting helicopters, bound for the forward operating base. The journey back was a mix of silent reflection and sporadic outbursts as we demanded answers for the inexplicable event and the loss of our stalwart leader, Rob. Our inquiries were met with stoic responses and bureaucratic redirection. "It was an anomaly," they coldly stated, providing no solace or clarity. "What you witnessed is classified and beyond your purview." To seal our enforced silence, we were handed battle damage assessment forms alongside non-disclosure agreements, further shrouding the incident in mystery and secrecy. I returned to Fort Liberty a changed man, the shadow of that encounter weighing heavily on my psyche. The grievous task of laying Rob to rest fell upon us. He was interred on his family's property by the tranquil riverbank in Lexington. The somber ceremony was a poignant reminder of the fragility of life. Attending the funeral, seeing the anguish on his mother's face, aged by sorrow, was heart-wrenching. Jason's recovery journey led him to Eisenhower Army for intensive treatment, addressing his physical injuries and the invisible scars of traumatic brain injury. Remarkably, he chose to extend his service contract. Brian and Doc, demonstrating the resilience inherent to soldiers, resumed their duties after taking some time off to mourn Rob's passing. In contrast, I felt a profound need to distance myself from the memories and the military. Opting for retirement, I transitioned to city life, sustaining myself on retirement checks and some savings. Memories of Rob haunted my everyday life, a lingering specter of camaraderie and loss. Keeping in touch with Jason, Brian, and Doc provided some semblance of solace, a reminder of shared trauma and resilience. Opportunities to re-engage in tactical operations were presented to me. Certain covert agencies expressed interest, dangling lucrative contracts and alluding to specialized task forces. The allure of action, coupled with the numbing effects of occasional nights lost to fleeting connections and cases of White Claw, made me contemplate returning to that world. However, the uncertainty remained. In retrospect, the enigmatic event served as a chilling testament to the existence of malevolence beyond our comprehension. Evil isn't just the product of extremist ideologies. Sometimes it assumes tangible, terrifying forms. I appreciate the opportunity to share this harrowing chapter of my life. As I conclude this account, my thoughts wander back to Rob, and a silent tribute escapes my lips. I love you, Rob.